You ever think about what it would be like outside of here? Wow, this is where we're from. Such a big world out there. So much I want to do.
Before we get into it, because I found this film so moving and I'm so excited to talk about it, but I'm not sure I know what jumping is yet. So I had to go to the Chicago native. Can you let me know what is jumping?
Well, it's not necessarily what is jumping, but what the point of the mattress is. I'm like the same age as the boys in the movie in '92, in real life 1992 at that time. And a lot of us did mattress jumping before they brought gymnastics to the community. So like it's a politician in Chicago by the name of Jesse White who basically he started Jesse White Tumblers. And that really was just taking all those kids who were really good at mattress jumping and introducing them to tumbling and gymnastics in Chicago. So that's basically what it was. I mean, it wasn't the most safest thing to do just to find a dirty mattress in the alley and jump on it. Uh, but it just shows you how far the imagination can go. And this is what I love what Min Hall did with this movie is, humanizing those residents and just how, huge just using your imagination could take. I mean, I wouldn't be where I'm at now if it wasn't just for thinking outside the box and imagining things that wasn't necessarily my circumstances growing up, but like just having this huge imagination. And I don't have to keep coming to the screenings to watch it, but I watch the movie every single time just because I just loves what it does for my heart and just makes me remember those friendships I had in my childhood too.
With both of you guys having a filmography as diverse as yours are, is there at all a part of it that's like maybe a through line or ethos of the projects that you're trying to sort of attract and jump on?
I mean, for me, I'm always just drawn to a strong story. I know when I read the script for this, I sobbed for hours. I thought about it for days, and I was like, no matter what, I have to work on this movie. And I think it's been kind of the same for other projects as well. A Black Lady sketch show is very, very different than this, but that's another project that I just felt like, I hadn't seen Black women represented in this way, in such a diverse way. So I think for every project I work on, I just kind of think about maybe what I can bring to it, what perspective I can bring to it, but also, just work on something that feels like it's different and new.
It's very interesting because right now they're about to open a Chicago housing museum in Chicago. And my family is one of the feature families from Robert Taylor Homes. It's not Cabrini Green, but it's so many families that represented those housing projects that, because maybe what the media depicted housing projects, especially after the Dentrell death, is that a lot of killings did happen and gang violence and things like that. But it was a lot of families, as you can see in the movie, that did come from Mississippi, and that moving into those housing projects was a new life for them. And it wasn't just all gangs and drugs, and it was bigger than that. It was family, and there was a lot of great families that came out of that. And so, reading the script and seeing that just showing the human side of these residents, and even just the two young men who are amazing in this movie, just seeing Black Boy Joy, just a beautiful friendship. That attracted me to the movie. And also I've been looking forward to playing like more dad roles and stuff and representing just seeing more African American fathers in a positive light and on the big screen.
And that kind of gets to something I was interested as well, and this sort of bringing Cabrini Green back to life in a sense, projects that people may be familiar with from various films, TV. I was wondering, both from like a technical aspect, because there's so much that goes into recreating the building, the sounds, really transporting us back to that time, but also, like you said, the familiarity of it you have as well when you're stepping into this project, like any sort of feedback that you may have had. So
They did an amazing job of recreating Cabrini Green. So the first day of me going to set, I told Minhal, I said, give me a second. Because it looks so good and so real. They tore those projects down in 2011. And even before that, for me, I moved to New York, so I haven't seen Cabrini Green in like forever. it looks so real. They did such an amazing job at it. I can't even. It was easy kind of to perform it, even just the way the apartments look and all those little attention to detail, those pictures and the plates they use and the dining room and it was. I had to take a second actually. It took me aback. Like wow, this is probably. And I've done some crazy stuff with some crazy budgets. Probably the best set decorating job I've ever seen.
That's
Real talk.
Yeah, and so much in post was also just about building out what Cabrini Green used to feel like or what being a child in 1992 felt like. So I also would have been Malik and Eric's age in 1992. So it was a lot of reflecting on like how did we process information, right? As, 9, 10-year-olds, how did we see the world? How did other stuff kind of happen off on the side that we maybe weren't aware of, but like how did that start to come together as we're kind of losing our innocence in a way? So Minhal and I had spent a lot of time just thinking about like Cabrini Green was, the towers were 16 stories. There's thousands of people there. There's families above and below them. So I think by the end we ended up with like 47, 50 audio tracks. So each track is like a different floor. There's music playing in one place. There's something somewhere else. So it really was just about trying to tell it as authentically, I think, as we could. And then when you see the towers, obviously the towers don't exist anymore. So it was about like really researching what that space looked like and trying to recreate it with visual effects as well. Also, I know we all kind of talked to former residents, former Cabrini Green residents. I talked to a lot of people just from Chicago from that period as well, just trying to be, I think, as respectful and careful in approaching how we told it, because I think something that's not talked about enough, in my opinion, in editing is ethics. Like how are you approaching telling real stories and, really reflecting how young Black boys in the projects might have experienced Cabrini Green. So there was just a lot of thought put into like trying to make that feel as authentic as we could.
Another thing I was wondering, because this film has such great things to say about imagination and showing how this can still feel like an expansive place. When you were putting the film together with Minal, was there this idea of wanting it to have a rhythm to it or wanting it to move in a certain sense?
Yeah, I think we had a lot of different coverage for this film. So there was coverage, typical traditional coverage where you could see all of these different elements. When you see the raid, you don't really see the police officers. When they come and make everybody have ID cards, you really don't see the police, but it's the boys kind of hearing it and like looking to parents, looking to people they trust. And so I think we kind of found the rhythm in that and just kind of cutting it in a way that we're looking from these angles that are kind of looking upwards at adults. You're looking at kind of these non-traditional angles. And I think in doing that, it helped us find what that rhythm was and helped us to kind of like, because it's also a slice of life movie. So it's like, how do we play this as if it's, this is just these boys experiencing real life in real time. And I think there's something poetic in that.
Well, real quick, that's one of my favorite shots of the movie, and it's a couple of times. It's just when they're outside and they're walking to school or they're sitting in the mattress and it's just this, it's this, right? And that's it. It's no close-ups. It's just that shot. And y'all did an amazing job at that. Like, I don't know. That's like one of my favorite. It's a very poetic movie, and I think that's one of the things I loved about. You can read a script, and even when you shoot stuff, and when you see a finished product or something, you're like, wow, look at the rhythm. It's such a perfect. Like, it's a screening we're doing in Chicago tomorrow, and I cannot wait for my family and friends and even people I knew who grew up with Cabrini to see this beautiful poetic love letter to Chicago.
All right. Thanks so much, Rel. Stephanie, tell your friends to see We Grow Now, April 19th.
Thank you.
Thank you.